Welcome to all my travelers out there. I am your host, Darren Beckett, and this is the Global Travel Podcast. For those who do not know my travel resume, I've been to 13 states, 15 countries on 5 different continents, but it is not about me. Here, we are giving you quality travel tips, insights, and recommendations on all the best destinations for ideas to enjoy your vacations. With that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. We are all clear for takeoff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we reach our destination, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, click the bell, and if you can do me a favor, if you can go in the comment section below, type in the words, "I got my ticket," and at the end of the show, I'm going to come by, I'm going to respond to see how your experience went with us, okay? So with that being said, on today's episode, we are taking a trip to Argentina. So make sure you got your passports, your earphones, and something to snack on. We have a very special guest here with us today, but before I introduce her, let me just say this. Now, this young lady right here has been across the world. As a matter of fact, she's been to 15 states and 15 countries. So if Argentina is on your list, you want to pay attention. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Miss Melinda Turner. How you doing today, Melinda?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm excited to be on your show.
Good. Much appreciated. Thank you for showing up, dropping us that travel knowledge and wisdom. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
And so we do have a flight to catch to Argentina today. But before we get on this flight, let's talk about a little bit about who you are, what you do for a living, where you live, hobbies, all that good stuff.
All right. Well, I have been a ESL professor for the past, I would say, 13 years. And what that is you teach English to second language learners. And funny you mentioned Argentina. That's where it all started.
Mhm.
A bunch of people from my church asked me to teach on an informal basis. And back then I was a preschool teacher. And then I said, okay, why not? And so it started with one class per week, and then it ended up about 2 3 classes per week, and I fell in love with teaching international students. So I've done that until now. I love traveling. I'm a proud mama and a Gigi, a glam glam, and I love writing, poetry, the beach, meeting people. But I think, in this time of pandemic, I think it's important for us to keep our hope of travel again. So I'm excited
Mhm.
about being part of this.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, definitely. We got to get back out there. So now let's get on the plane. Where is the first state that you would recommend folks to go to, since that's kind of like what we're doing now, is we're traveling in state now.
I'm going back in time, but I went to a family reunion in North Carolina. And for many years, I've heard about how beautiful the beaches are there. And I saw the movie Beaches, but it didn't prepare me for how beautiful the beaches are. It's like in a movie, and
Mhm.
specifically Corolla, and they call it the Outer Banks. And I fell in love with the beach, the white picket fences, the huge southern homes, kind of the whole vibe of the area. So I highly recommend visiting North Carolina.
How's the food out there? Would you recommend for us to eat?
A lot of fish. Like we went to Roanoke Island and fish and southern food. The southern food is there, and I just recommend trying the little joints that are all around. The little fish and chip places and all the different kind of the original. I call them the OG cafes. Just get to know the vibe of that state and city.
Mm-hmm. Right, right, definitely. So what's the weather like there? Is there a better time to go during the year, or what's that like?
When we went, it was summer, so it was hot. And on the East Coast, southern East Coast, it is hot. It's humid. So
Mhm.
maybe not summer per se, maybe fall or spring, so you don't get the high humidity. So kind of my
Mm-hmm.
recommendations.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Okay, so North Carolina was definitely cool. So what's another state that you'll recommend folks to go to?
Surprisingly, Idaho. My children go to college there. My daughter graduated from a university there, and I kind of love the small town feel, and it's growing. The one city I went to and fell in love with is Boise, Idaho, and it's been on the top 10 lists for a cool small city to go to. And we stayed in the historical section, so you see homes that are like hundreds of years old and beautiful.
Mm,
And I like it because it has the beautiful nature surrounding it, hiking trails, but then it has a cute little city vibe, kind of like a smaller San Diego. And
mhm,
cool eateries. Like we went to this breakfast place that was like vintage and just very cool, unique eateries. Again, a combo of small town living with a city vibe. So I really highly recommend it.
mhm. Okay, cool. Yeah, see, I've never been to Idaho. That's never, but it is on my bucket list. It's one of those places that I want to go to all 50 states. So Idaho is definitely on that list.
Right. You have the natural beautiful mountains and parks nearby, Yellowstone, and yeah, why not?
Yeah, I hear. Yes, and I hear it's a nature place, hiking, good camping, outdoor activities and whatnot. So definitely gonna put that on my list. Now, okay, now what about a more popular state that you have been to that you'll recommend?
Again, I don't know how popular it is, but I think a lot of us Californians are moving to it is Utah. Back in
Mm,
the day, Donnie and Marie Osmond made it famous, but for real, it's a fun, cool city that still
mm-hmm,
has that small mountain vibe to it.
mm-hmm,
What I like about the little downtown area, not so little, the downtown area are the cool original eateries. Like I
mm-hmm,
went to a Himalayan restaurant and I've never been
mm-hmm,
to, and kind of a mix of Indian food, South Asian food, and it was really cool. So I really like, again, the beautiful nature around it. I love different things. There's a lot of Latin that live in Utah, surprisingly. So they have some Mexican eateries as well. So I highly recommend it. And the
Okay,
scenery,
cool.
of course, is beautiful.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I heard Utah is it's a beautiful, beautiful nature and scenery and all that good stuff. So that's definitely on my list as well, of course. Now, what type of traveler are you? Are you more of a nature or a solo traveler or luxury or budget or family? What type of traveler are you?
Well, I'm kind of a mix. I love traveling and doing the touring of the cities, of course, looking
Hmm.
at the museums and the beautiful restaurants and all the monuments. But I also like kind of, I guess, what we could consider slow travel,
Hmm.
where you get to know the culture. And that's kind of more my vibe. Like, I like staying longer and getting to know the people, how they really live, what food they eat, and kind of all that vibe. So that's kind of my way of traveling, getting to know more of the non-touristy parts of the city or country I'm investigating.
Yep, yep. I hear you loud and clear on that one. Now, do you travel alone by yourself or mostly with someone else or in groups?
Usually, for many years, it was with my husband or then husband and make my family. But recently, in my new status in life, alone actually. Like I've
Hmm.
When I went to Italy, I had taught in Thailand. And so then I went to Italy on my own. It was really the first time I traveled to a country on my own. I was meeting a friend at a place I was going to stay in, but it was really,
Hmm.
a unique experience and kind of liberating.
Right. So what are because there are a lot of single or solo women travelers out there. So what advice could you give those who want to travel, never travel, would like to, thought about it, all that good stuff? Like what advice can you give them to help them out?
Well, first of all, let's not be naive. We always have to do safety precautions. Let's not have our bags ready for the pickpocket to pickpocket it. I mean, we need to take precautions in that respect. Have maybe your
Mhm,
backpack in the front when you're in crowded trains. don't fall for any, like the gypsies are famous for like kind of soliciting tourists, just to be aware, but at the same time not let the fear of being alone stop you from investigating a new country or city. Get to know it by
Mhm.
reading it, getting to see reviews, just knowledge. And then I think armed with knowledge and common sense and of course adventure, go for it, because unfortunately, I think the United States is actually not the safest country in the world compared to many cities and countries in
Right.
the world. We're kind of not that safe.
Right, right. Yeah, it's dangerous everywhere. I don't care what country you go to.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
always going to be cities, neighborhoods, and areas where
yeah,
you just want to stay away from. So, are there
exactly.
any particular countries that you were say, that maybe you have heard as a single female traveler solo by yourself to probably stay away from, or maybe be more experienced if you're going to travel there?
Um, Maybe again, the more, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I think the more popular countries definitely have their bad neighborhoods, definitely have their areas you should be careful. But I think, in a way, because they're popular, in some ways you are safe because there's a lot of tourists. I don't know, maybe more
Hmm.
of the obscure, like I went to Paraguay 20 years ago, but I did not feel safe there at all. It just felt very, I don't know. I just didn't feel a good vibe there. I would not recommend that traveling. Again, this was 20 years ago. It could have
Hmm.
changed.
Hmm.
Some of the Latin American countries back then were not even welcoming to Americans. But now I kind of feel it's changed. Maybe parts of Mexico I love. I think there's many places that are safe. But again, I wouldn't go to like TJ by myself.
Right, right,
That would be one, that I
right,
would say, no, 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 go with people, be
right.
together. Yeah. So maybe that one.
Definitely. Yeah, that's definitely important. I even heard one advice was to start off local, start off in your maybe in another state,
Yeah.
somewhere in the
Yeah,
United
that's a
States,
good
to
advice.
go by yourself for the first time just to see how it is being by yourself. I mean, you speak the language, you have cell phone service, so it's pretty. I mean, that was a good advice. I like that. So yeah, if
Me
this your
too.
first time, you ain't never traveled by yourself, you might want to stay in the United States for your first trip, get a feel for it, maybe go to another country next, like London, where they speak English. So, you kind of progressively get more extravagant when it comes to your solo travel experiences. So that's pretty cool. Now, okay, so we hit a couple states. Now let's do one more state before we go international. What other state would you recommend folks to go to?
Well, East Coast. I actually go to New York. I mean, it's been a while since I've been there, but it's changed. Before, in my time, or New York City specifically, it was a different time when I grew up in the 70s. But now, when I've traveled there, especially the Times Square area, there's so many cool things to investigate in New York City. The typical Tiffany's and the New York pizza. I still think that
Hmm.
it's a classic OG place to visit. I think if people want to travel and say I've been there, I think it's New York City. They should, go to the Big Apple, and then also go across to New Jersey, because that's also cool. There's definitely different parts of it that are fun to explore.
Okay, so how far do you know that trip? Is it like by train or by bus, or how long is that trip from New York to New Jersey?
I think that's not too long. I think you can take, if I'm not mistaken, either you could travel there by car, or you could. I think I don't know, actually, quite frankly, now, but to me it was like half an hour at most. So it's kind of like what I would say, a little Nevada to maybe Utah. Not too long, and so it's because it's really right across the Hudson. So
Hmm. Right, right, right. Yeah, definitely. New York is fun. I've been there. Food, culture. I mean, it's a lot to do. A lot of I did. Are there
I'm a
any
New
like
York, yeah, and I'm a New
what?
York weekend, so I better promote my own city.
Right, Right. Okay. So what about the local stuff to do other because yeah, I'm pretty sure we all know like the Statue of Liberty and the all the, what is it, Madison Square Garden and Central Station, all that type of stuff. What are like the local things to do in New York that folks probably aren't too aware of?
I wouldn't say particular. Well, the village, Greenwich Village. I think it's cool, because they have all those different distinct kind of stores. I remember younger going there and going, to the different like unique shoe stores, and I think it's changed immensely, but I still think it has that, unique vibe like Soho and and I think there's a revitalization in different areas that maybe necessarily back in my day were kind of down and out, but I hear the Bronx is doing some gentrification. Where I lived was this planned community called Co-op City,
Mm-hmm.
and when I moved in, it was this huge sprawling development that was really pretty cool because it was pretty diverse. It was the
Mm-hmm.
first time many of us bought, these co-ops, so we were owners, and it had, like again, different types of people. So it went through its downward spiral, but now I think it's going back up. So it's close to this, a beach. It's close to, New Rochelle. And upstate New York is
Mm-hmm.
actually quite beautiful. And there's different places you could go right nearby, by car. So, try investigating even upstate New York, so things like that.
Mm-hmm. So what do you recommend far as traveling within New York? Do you rent a car or do the Uber or taxi or metro, subway, all that? What do you recommend
I
far as
think in
getting
the
around?
actual city, I would just Uber and take a taxi for me because it's so hard to find parking like in any big city. But if you want to go in the
Mhm,
outskirts, like if you want to go outward and definitely rent a car. The subway is still cool. That's an experience you
mhm,
can't replicate. Again, I think it's
mhm,
changed. They're a little bit safer, they're a little bit cleaner. But I used to take the subway to the beaches, like Jones Beach. That was a cool,
mhm.
experience taking the train to, because the beaches are a unique thing to visit in surprisingly in New York. You wouldn't think so, but they are.
Right, right, right. Definitely. So, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure New York is probably on your list. So we got to make that trip sooner than later. So, okay, cool. Now, the United States is fun, of course. Now let's go ahead and travel across this pond one time. We have a little ways before we get to Argentina. But before we get there, what other country do you recommend folks to go to?
What was a surprising? It's not it's actually its own principality. It's Monaco. It's where, the famous Princess Grace Kelly. Actually, that was part of a tour I did, and I was so surprised by how beautiful this unique, they call it principality, is because it's reigned by prince. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful artwork everywhere, sculptures. The casino looks like a castle. You go in it and it's nothing like Las Vegas. There's no ding ding ding. It's, like a James Bond movie. Everyone's sophisticated. Beautiful. There's a couple of islands off of it that you can go and take, a boat to, and
Mm-hmm.
those are beautiful. One of them had a monastery where you saw all the monks and friars singing, and that was really unique.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that quite fascinating. Besides the glamorous part, I think I liked the beauty and the art of it. It just looked like almost like Disneyland. You're like, wow, this is great. So I
Mm-hmm.
go to Monaco, go check out Monte Carlo and check out that whole beautiful vibe of southern France.
Monaco. Yeah, I've heard about it. I've definitely heard about it. It's on my list. Now, far is there like, are they known for food or wine, or what are they known for far as in that realm, if anything?
Surprisingly, we had Italian food there, and it was one of the most delicious, divine pastas I've eaten. Fine living. When we took a tour, the chocolate, there was a right there, there was a beautiful chocolate candy place where we were sent, and the chocolate was outstanding. So I think it's more the unique eateries, of course, upper fine wine and of course dining is there. But again, I was surprised by how delicious the pasta was in
Mm.
France in general.
Right, right. Now, do you think that type of trip is for the budget travelers, or you gotta save a little bit, or is that one of them fancy
Well,
trips?
you know what we did is part of this tour, our tour guide had us settle in Nice. And
Hmm.
Nice is, again, if you budget is just right. And again, we did a tour, so everything was included. So Nice is the less expensive, and you could take a train to Carlo, kind of like in anywhere in Europe. If you find a place to be your base, then you could take a train or a airplane for a cheap, less expensive way to get around, and so that's how we did it. Because definitely a working girl here, so I was able to do it, so I think many people can.
Nice. Yeah, and for those folks who are not aware about Europe, it's very easy to travel within Europe. So, you mentioned something that was key, Melinda. You said a base. So, if you pick somewhere where maybe you want to go visit France or Italy, you can go visit there. Hopefully, you have enough time to visit and shop, not shop around, but like kind of like travel around and whatnot to other neighboring countries that you can just take a quick flight, less than $50, maybe $50, and or a train ride. So you can do a lot. You can hopefully you can stay for 2 weeks and experience more than just that one country. Maybe do a second country if possible, and do multiple cities, of course. So all right, cool. Now, any other countries that you would recommend folks to go to?
You know, there's a unique country close to Argentina, Uruguay, and it's actually
Mm-hmm.
quite lovely. When you go to it, you take the steamboat, and actually, I found it lovely. It's definitely a different vibe. We went to Colonia, and it historical. It had the beautiful you could see the beautiful river across the way and Argentina. And I love the people. They were really, really nice. They have a famous beach there that many Argentines go to. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a popular beach that I think Punta del Este. And many people, kind of like the East Coast, many families would go there for their summer and
Mm-hmm.
stay there while the husbands worked, and the husbands would come during the weekend, but very famous. And so I don't know, I just enjoy the whole vibe, the more mellow, family oriented. Curious to see how it is now currently, because this is a while ago. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of a country you don't really hear much about, but I kind of
Right.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, you don't hear too much about Uruguay. So let's talk a little more about it. Now, as far as are they known for any food, or is it rice and beans, or what's like the typical Uruguayan dish?
Not really. For me, it was a while ago. It seems similar to Argentine food, which we'll discuss, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but very similar. I'm not sure of any of the unique things because again, it's been a while, but
Mm-hmm.
very similar to Argentine food, which surprisingly is not spicy. It's more since there's a mix of cultures in Argentina, I'm sure in Uruguay. So you do have kind of a blend. And again, I was surprised, not spicy. So, but
Mm-hmm.
again, I forget since I haven't
Right.
been there in a while, so I can't recommend anything specific.
No, no worries, no worries. What country was the last country you've been to?
The one last country I've been to is Italy.
Let's go to Italy. Let's go back to Europe. Let's go back to Europe. So, tell us about Italy. What do you recommend? I know we talked about France. We should have probably hit Italy before we hit South America, but we just flying all across the place.
That's
So,
okay.
now Italy. Tell us about Italy. What would you recommend folks to do there? See all that good stuff.
Of course, everyone needs to hit Rome. And
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly, this time around, I did not go and explore all of Rome because I had a place to go to. But
Mm-hmm.
Rome for sure, because when you go there, you're like, wow, looks like the movies. But
Mm-hmm.
what I recommended is the small town I went to, and it was this mountain town called Guardia San Framandi, and it's about an hour and a half from Naples. And actually, the most beautiful, quaint, like old school type of Italian town that you see in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And what I loved about it is the sense of community, and I stayed there for 3 months. And originally I was supposed to keep on going to Spain, but I decided to stay there. And
Mm-hmm.
between the sense of community, I felt welcomed. I felt seen. Every morning I would walk down the cobblestone streets and all the old men would be going, "Ciao, Bella, ciao." And typical Italian guys. But I liked it because even though they're flirty and a little bit stereotypical, you're seen in a good way, and they do it without really any harm. But I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy just getting to know the people, the true food, getting to just get the vibe. I live next to artists. If you walk down the cobblestone, he would always be doing his sculptures, and I would always go every morning to the cafe and I'd meet everybody. The mayor would come in, and then some expats and tourists, and I'd spend 4 hours there, and I felt so like emotionally nourished.
Mhm. I like that. Emotionally nourished. That's a good one. So yeah, Italy. Yeah, I've been to Rome. Beautiful, very historic, a lot of culture. You probably need to be there longer than a week to really, really
Yeah.
get the full essence of it. And Italy just in itself have so much to do. So many different cities you need to see: Venice, Florence, Naples,
Oh,
just to name a few. But it's Italy. You probably need to just go ahead and just move there for the year, really get the full
right.
essence, just to
Everyone
really
get their
see it.
remote. Yeah, everyone get their remote job and get over there. That's, I guess,
Hmm.
my plan.
Good food, good food. You have natural, like in America, of course, we have hormones and preservatives, and I believe over there it's a lot more natural. So you're not as full and it's heavy. You can eat a full course meal, and it's freshly made. It's freshly made, and you won't feel so lethargic after you eat. So
I didn't
Italy
gain any
is.
I didn't gain any weight because you're absolutely right. Everything is kind of fresh. They don't have the chemicals that we have here and preservatives. I'm not allergic. I have the, what do you call it? The lactose intolerance of milk now and cheese
Mm-hmm,
here. But there,
mm-hmm,
every day I'd be getting my cheese from the cheese place, and I
mm-hmm.
have no lactose react. I eat ice cream all the time and pizza,
Right,
nothing, because
right.
everything's fresh. The
Mm-hmm,
flour is fresh, even the milk, and they
mm-hmm,
still have the butcher, the bread place, the cheese place, and that's, and at least in the smaller city, and I love that. It
mm-hmm.
reminds me again of the olden days.
Yep, agreed, agreed. So if Italy is not on your list, which I'm probably sure it is, put it on your list. And if it is on your list, move it up. So now we've been to Europe, we've been to South America. Let's head to Asia real quick. I know you've been to some countries in Asia, so let's hit one more country before we hit Argentina. So what country would you recommend in Asia to go to?
Well, to be truthful, the only country I've been to actually is South East Asia and Thailand. And
Hmm.
Thailand was always on my bucket list, and Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily, because of a teaching assignment, I was able to go there for the summer. And thanks to my friend who recommended it and who I taught with, um, it was very unique. Of course, the islands are beautiful, the beaches are beautiful, but it is different living in a country versus vacationing. It's a very different
Yeah.
vibe. It's a different religion. The
Mm-hmm.
people are, different, the way they think, and working there, it's different. And the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
That culture is different from what I'm used to. I love that they're peaceful. I love that they're tolerant. I love that Thailand, basically, when we were traveling around, we felt safe. But as a Latina, I'm used to more, I don't know, more of a touchy feely, more. And so they're respectful, but they stay among themselves. Very loving, but it's a different culture. But
Mm-hmm.
my best weekend were going to the islands after working as a teacher all week. There
Mm-hmm.
were islands nearby, and we would take these special taxis called sungtaos,
Mm-hmm.
and they would take us to the beautiful vessels that would take us across. And we would spend the whole weekend in an island, and you could get so many things so inexpensively. Like the resorts were like $40 a day, and you
Mm-hmm.
were right there on the beach. And it was just so like the movies. It really was. What I liked about these islands, they were not as crowded as the ones you see in the movie. They were not as, touristy. So that's what I enjoyed. So definitely a must do. Definitely
Do
have to
you
go.
do you remember the names of the islands by chance?
Well, I think the one we went to the most was Ko Chang, and
Okay.
it looks like the shape of an elephant. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's part of the name. And again, when we were teaching in our city called Canterbury,
Mm-hmm.
it was during the rainy season. But every weekend we would go to Ko Chang. It was sunny, so it was
Mm-hmm.
a cool, change. And I like that it was again smaller. Again, you would take the taxi and then you go up these windy roads, and then you'd head to your beach and your kind of private resort, and you could walk to the downtown area and experience the nightlife. Like we used to go to this famous kind of bar club, and all, many expats there, and it was so fun. And
Mm-hmm.
I just like the whole like islandy, like the moon would be out and you felt safe. The monkeys would be up in the trees, and we got to meet some of the local people and guys, and that was kind of fun. It was a unique experience. I felt that I was living my 20s again in a 50-year-old body. It's
I like that. I like
more too
that.
late.
Yeah. Right, right, right. Instead of how what is it? How Stella got her groove back, how Melinda got her groove
Yeah,
back.
yeah. Nelly
I
got her
like
groove
that.
back.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So yeah, Thailand, definitely put it on your list if it's not already. And if you want to do something that's less touristy, hit the islands of there's an island called Koh Chang. You want to hit an
Yeah,
island called Koh Chang where it's less
yeah.
touristy. You can mess with the locals, be a local for a little bit.
And you
So
get the same kind of beautiful beaches for less and more bang for your buck. So I would tell, and it's near the city of Canterbury,
mhm.
and so again, more of, southern part of Thailand, but definitely bang for your buck. And also, it just like you said, less touristy, more peaceful, but you still get the beautiful Thailand.
Well said. Love it. So yeah, Thailand. I've been there. It's beautiful. I recommend it as well. So put it on your list if it's not already. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, we are officially landed in Argentina. So welcome, 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 or should I say bienvenidos, Argentina. So now that we're here, we ready to hit the ground running. We stretching our legs. We off the plane. So Melinda, we're gonna be here a while. So what would you
Okay.
recommend us to do first?
Well, like in many cities, well, first after you settle in, I recommend taking the bus. There's usually a tour bus just to get an overall view of what's around, because especially if some of us have time restrictions, this is a good way to, get to see the city in one, couple of hours. So I always
Mhm.
recommend do the tour bus because it's a good way to see it. When I was there, I didn't see it because I actually was living there for 2 years, but I'm
Mhm.
sure now they have that, or find a tour guide or tour company to help you do that, because it could help save time. Again, many of us don't have the luxury of living there for 2 years and maybe 2 weeks. So do that first.
Mhm.
Again, as I recommend, everyone needs to do their research so that you
Mhm.
could know what you want to see, because Argentina is known for its tango. It's known for what else is it's known for its meat. It's known for their food, empanadas.
Mhm.
It's a European influenced city, and I'm glad we went to Italy because there are many Italian Argentines. Remember,
Mhm.
in World War II, many Europeans fled, and even before that time too, Argentina and Buenos Aires because in during that time period it was a thriving country and there were opportunities for many of these people to go and start a new life. So many Italian Argentines. So that's a prevalent part of Buenos Aires.
Mm, yeah, nice. And I like that first recommendation. The first thing I recommend folks to do when they hit a country that they know nothing about, or maybe a little bit because of the research, do a tour. Do a tour that first day and just get a tour of the city, tour of whatever you can see, eat, and all that. And your tour guide asking questions. Besides what we saw on the tour, what other places that you recommend that's less touristy, more locally, and then that will be a great way to jumpstart your adventures and what you would like, because you may change plans because you may hear something different that you didn't know nothing about or that you didn't find on Google. So I think that is a great tip, great advice for the first thing to do when you get there is always take like a city tour or something, and then pick your tour guide's brain, pick his brain. And then I know that you mentioned the meats. I'm a foodie, so we're gonna have to stay here for a little bit. Now, when it comes to the, like, is there a specific meat, or I know you said empanada, is there a specific dish, or what type of foods are we talking about while we here? We hungry? What we
Well, they're
eating?
known for their they were known for their beef and they do these barbecues or parillas.
Mm-hmm.
So they're known for the carne asada and for barbecuing these delicious beef.
Mm-hmm.
So they are known. And in fact, a famous meal is called milanesa, and it's kind of like a breaded uh, steak, like and very famous. And they would eat this a lot with mashed potatoes and olives, which seems to be a garnish they always use. But definitely known for their beef. That was one of their famous things they're known for. Also,
Mm-hmm.
Brazil is nearby, so there's some. We have this here in the United States too. These Brazilian places where you could go sit down and basically order all types of meat, right, in
Mm-hmm.
different ways that are done. So it's the same in Argentina. They have those types of places where you could order meat with different garnishes and side dishes, of course. So yeah, that's a famous thing that they do there. Yeah.
I like the sound of that. Argentina. Yeah. And sorry for you vegetarians out there. This may not be the part for you. So it's all right. I'm sure they got good wine and beers and stuff. What do they got as far as like drinking for the alcoholics?
The funny thing you asked, back then I was not a drinker, so I
Uh,
can't say I can't recommend it. But
mm,
I'm sure there's many beers because again, another influence is the German influence. People from Germany settled there as well,
mm,
and England. So France was a huge population that settled there. So in regards to drink, I'm sure there are many wines that are local there
mhm,
that are, famous in the city.
mm,
I would like to go back to experience this other area that I did not do younger. So I'm
mhm,
sure, like I said, there's beers, there's local wines being grown because of the different European influences there
mhm,
and the native or indigenous people. So as far as a local drink that is famous, it's mate, and it's not alcoholic per se. It has a lot of caffeine, but
mm,
it's kind of almost like a herbal tea where they put
mhm,
in this silver goblet and they have this silver straw, and you kind of pass it around. So it would not be
mm.
popular now with because of the COVID. But
Right.
they would pass it around to strangers, and you would all drink a sip of mate.
Mate.
Um, some people like it. My then husband enjoyed it, but I didn't. But
Right.
as part of the social ritual, I participated, and it
Mhm,
has improved. Here in San Diego, we have a health, kind of like a healthy restaurant, and they serve it, and they do it with different, different kind of herbs
mhm,
besides the yelba, that the
mhm,
herb they use, and
mhm,
it's more flavorful here. But yes, that is a national drink. It's a must do.
mhm.
Again, not now, but when COVID is done,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And you said mate?
mate. It's called
Yeah.
mate. Mate.
I had mate in where was I at? I was in Chile. I was in Chile. We had mate. I remember the little silver thing. I wasn't really a fan of it neither, but you like you said, if you're in the when you're in the country, you know, they say when in Rome. So just yeah, participate. It ain't the greatest. It was a little bitter, a little strong for me, but and I'm a tea drinker, but that wasn't really the what I was looking for. But you know, hey, teach his own, try it out. Don't knock it till you try it. So okay, cool. Yeah, and then Argentina, of course, I haven't been, but I heard about their wine. I heard they have good wine. So that's one of the places that you want to go to if you are a wine connoisseur. So put that on your list. Now, far as you've been there 2 years, is there like a better time to come? Is there a time to stay away? What is that like?
Well, remember, we are opposite seasons. So when it's winter there, it's summer here. Or when
Mm-hmm.
it's summer here, it's winter there.
Mm-hmm.
So when we moved there, it was in November, late fall here, but there was spring and it was absolutely beautiful. They have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of trees in the city called, I think, jacarandas
Mm-hmm.
with the purple leaves. And
Mm,
it was amazing to see them all purple. And it was absolutely beautiful because it was just right. Not too hot, not too cold. Perfect. It's a
mm,
little more humid in Buenos Aires than, for example, San Diego. So
mm,
I would recommend about that time period. And
mm.
then it goes into summer. So again, our winter is their summer.
Right. That is actually key to understand and to know. When you're in America, United States, and you go to South America, the excuse me, the seasons are opposite. So just like she mentioned, if you go in the summertime, it's winter down there and vice versa. So you definitely need to pay attention, go check out the weather, the what the weather's gonna be like when you go, and because you don't want to, you in summertime, you don't want to pack no shorts and shirt thinking it's summer down there. Next thing you know, it's cold as I don't know what. So
Yeah,
pay
yeah.
attention. Yeah, that's definitely
Mhm.
important when you go to South America and when you're in North America. So cool. Now, what about the language? I know they speak Spanish, but can you get around with English, or how's that? Do you need a translator, or how's that work?
Always have your Google Translator on hand. And actually, to respect any country, at least study the basic travel language, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm,
respectful, it shows that you're interested. That being said, many, and again, back then, but people spoke mostly Spanish, so English was very necessary. But I think now in the new millennial age, many millennials have learned English. So, kind of like France or any city, they're more than
mm-hmm,
happy to speak English with you.
mm-hmm,
And again, I'm sure it has changed. The Spanish they speak is a different, would you say, dialect? It's more
mm-hmm.
it's a mixture of the Italian sound. It's more
Mhm,
musical. It's
mhm,
faster. Some
mhm.
vocabulary is different. So it's kind of a culture shock because I'm used to more of the slower Spanish. And
Right.
different things are called, like, corn is, I think, choclo, or so different vocabulary, different kind of Spanish vocabulary, like Puerto Rican or Mexican versus Argentine.
Mhm,
And then
mhm,
they have a thing where they pronounce things with the double L. It's almost like a ella, where we
mm,
would say in Spanish ella, right?
mhm,
So there is
mhm,
ella. So it's kind
mhm.
of that different pronounce, and I love that. I thought it was really pretty.
Yep, yep, yeah. Different Spanish countries have a different dialect, different ways. Just like English, you go to Australia, they speak different than folks in than London and then with us. So, and even if you go different places in the United States, you go down
That's
south, they
right.
they speak different. Go to the East Coast, they speak different. West Coast, it just depend on what part of the country you're in. So that's definitely important. Now let's go ahead and get some Rosetta Stone in. I know a lot of folks probably know some of the basics when it comes to Spanish, like the hola is hello, gracias is thank you. Now let's take it to Spanish 102. Now, how would you say uh how much is this, or how much? That's important to know.
Well, different ways of saying cuánto cuesta.
Cuánto
Um,
cuesta?
sí.
That's a good one.
And
Yeah.
different, again, particular to each country, and so something like that.
Hmm. So for those folks who do not speak Spanish, cuánto cuesta is how much. So if you're in a shop and you want to know how much something is, or if you need to take a taxi or a bus ride to buy something, cuánto cuesta. That's a very important expression or phrase to learn and to use. So definitely cuánto cuesta. And of course, I'm sure y'all know like your hola and gracias and stuff like that. So keep that
Yeah,
up, keep that going. And then let me.
exactly.
Is there another? And let me see how much. Don't I think is there anything else that you would think it's important to learn in another country? Like how okay, like how much, hello, thank you. Anything else?
Directions. ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde
Where
está?
is? Yeah.
Learn again, it's a respectful thing. You
Mm-hmm.
take your little Spanish book or your
Mm-hmm.
translator, but do learn the different directional things or um hay un baño,
Mm-hmm.
everyone wants to know
Bathroom.
aquí or
Yeah.
¿dónde puede buscar? Where can I find?
Yeah.
Really basic asking things.
Right. Right.
¿Cómo
Right.
se
Yeah.
llama? ¿Cómo
Yeah.
está?
See?
The greetings are very important.
Mm-hmm.
Hola,
Mm-hmm.
¿cómo te va?
Mm.
¿Cómo estás?
Right. So
And they do
man,
a lot of
y'all.
ciao. They do a lot of ciao. Remember, Italian influence.
Ciao. Yep, yep. I've heard that before as well. So okay, so yeah, we got our Rosetta Stone in. Hopefully, y'all picked up another word or phrase. Hopefully, and then yeah, you take that with you. Now, as far as Americans, do we need vaccinations or visas or anything other than a passport to go to Argentina?
Well, again, I'm not sure. Don't quote me, but like a Europe, again, South America can be different. But just like in Europe, you're allowed to stay in a country for 3 months. I'm not
Mm,
sure again for Argentina.
mm,
So you don't necessarily need a visa. To stay there longer, yes. We had to get the special, visa to stay there for 2 years. Of course, have your passport. And as far as I know, I don't know anything else.
mm,
Back then, because I had two children and I had a third there, we had to get permission from our husband to leave because we were visiting Brazil, Iguazu Falls. We had to get permission from the husband to leave the country. So patriarchal, I don't know what to say. Maybe now it's changed. Not
mm,
sure.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, definitely check into that because that's important to know. So, okay, cool. Now, far as how do folks get around in Argentina? Is it like buses, taxis, Uber, walk-in city, or how does that work?
Well, back then I was back in the 90s, but we used the little yellow taxi all the time. I'm sure now it's the Uber, but back then it was a little yellow and black taxi. I got to know all the taxi drivers, because at that time, unfortunately, Argentina was going to their struggles. The dollar was equal to the peso. It was an expensive city. So many of my taxi drivers used to be like engineers or own their own business. And so it was kind of sad to see that, that a lot of the middle class was going down, kind of like the United States. Anyway, but I used to take the taxis everywhere because they were very reasonable.
Okay, okay, cool.
You-
So
Yeah,
it may have changed since then. I'm sure you can still take the taxi, maybe have Uber at this. You never know.
I
Uber's
think
too
they have
expensive.
Uber. Yes,
Okay.
Uber or their form of Uber. Their train that we did take the train, we did take bus. So definitely no car. I did not drive in Argentina because that was crazy. It was like Italy or France. Heck no, because I
Yeah,
like my
yeah.
life.
Just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. Um, okay, cool. So now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about. Let me see. It was something else that I wanted to cover. How long was that? I'm assuming maybe you flew from Southern California. How long was that flight about?
It seemed like it was 15 hours. I can't, don't quote me on that, but it
Mm-hmm.
was a long way. We're going towards Australia, down there towards Australia. So it's a long flight. And when I went
Right.
there, I went with little kids. So be aware of that. It's not a short flight at all.
Right. Yeah, that's important to know. And then now let me see here. There was something. Oh, far as the shopping, or
Oh,
how was it? Was there any like
oh,
shopping to do,
oh,
local
yes.
shopping? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure it's changed even more. I
Mm-hmm.
lived in a really ritzy part of town. I was middle
Mm-hmm.
class male in a rich
Mm-hmm.
town or part of town. There's a place called Recoleta and
Mm-hmm.
Palermo, and they're very ritzy.
Mm-hmm.
And right, I lived in a building that was predominantly French, and it was the
Mm-hmm.
kind of almost a French style building. So each floor was a whole apartment, so it was kind of cool. So every morning I'd take my babies, put them in the carriage, have the other one hold the carriage, and we walk to go look at the shops because literally we walk a couple blocks and there was, I think it's called Avenida Santa Fe, was a
Mm-hmm.
huge block of stores to check out. And there was a
Mm-hmm.
mall and definitely, but it seemed like in every block you would find your shoes, the leather, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
leather, good. Remember, we have beef, so you got the leather.
Right.
The leather goods, clothing stores. But back then, they were European style clothing stores. Thankfully, back then I fit those sizes, but I don't remember being that inclusive. But they have very cool, unique um, boutiques,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
very. What was surprising then was conservative, very classical styles. Of course,
Right.
we had the more trendier stores for the younger teenagers and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but it could have changed. But I remember back then being surprised about how conservative and classical the clothes were. Like people buy good things because they expect them to last. The other thing
That
was
part.
the people are beautiful. So when I walked
Mm-hmm.
outside, you have to be your best looking. No ugly looking, no shorts like we think we're gonna be wearing shorts. You need to be,
uh,
dressed. People wore
uh-huh.
jeans, but look good.
Right.
But the Argentine people we saw, if I felt like I was walking in a runway, and these were tall, beautiful Argentine girls that you're like, they should be models.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's a beautiful mix of people. So I always
Nice.
felt like you had to be dressed to impress to walk down the streets.
Yep. I like that. I like that. Got style, got swag, got pizzazz. I like that.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have to start wrapping things up. We have a flight to catch, but before we get on this flight, we're going to hit the gift shops, get some souvenirs and whatnot. So, while we're doing that, Miss Melinda, if is there anything about Argentina that you disliked at all?
Um, hmm. Basically I became homesick, but if I could go back again, I
Mm-hmm.
actually thought it was a beautiful city to live in. It felt like parts of it felt like Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe because I lived in a ritzier area, the people are a little snobby.
Mm-hmm.
That part I did
Mm-hmm.
not like, but on the whole, I loved getting to know the culture because I had the opportunity. I love the food.
Mm-hmm.
Empanadas. They're known for these cookies called alfajores.
Mm-hmm.
They had this dulce de leche came from Argentina down that area.
Mm.
Um, the pizza, I hated. If you want to say one thing, it was not like Italian. Oh no, 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 no. It was yucky.
Really? What was how was it made? Or what made it? What was going on with this
The
pizza?
cheese, it smelled like dirty socks, and then it was very oily. And then they put it with a garnish of green olives and ham, which I did not understand. It was nasty. I'm sure now that's changed, but I've looked online and there's still that bad reputation for their pizza. And I was
Wow.
surprised because their other food, gnocchis, was delicious. Their
Mm,
pasta was delicious. Of course, their meat and their
mhm,
milanesa. I liked going to Evita Cemetery because there's a famous cemetery called Recoleta,
mhm.
and Evita is buried there. And in fact, when I was there, Madonna was making the movie Evita, so it was kind of cool because I got to see the premiere, the first premiere of it in an actually Argentine movie theater. It's
Nice.
kind
That
of a
was dope.
cool thing.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, but definitely the pizza was, I guess, my least favorite thing, and the snobby Argentines, or porteños. So that's it.
Gotcha. You know what? It's like that sometimes. It's always something that, is probably not our favorite part about it. So, that is what it is. But ladies and gentlemen, Argentina, put it on your list. You got some good food. They are known for their beef. Beef. If you are a shopper, you can shop till you drop. Got stores galore. And, check out their
Tango
leather.
and tango. Let's not forget. Go to there's an area called La Boca, and
Mm-hmm.
you could see tango dancing on the streets. Definitely
Mm.
go to a tango class. Definitely go to a tango show. I
Mm.
forgot about that.
No,
Tango.
good, good. I'm glad you guys remember. So, if you're into dancing, Argentina is more of the tango type of vibe. I know some of you guys may be more into the salsa, but I don't know. Do they do salsa too, or is they more?
I'm sure they do. Now they
Probably,
do
yeah, do it
everything.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
they do it all.
young, yeah.
Yeah,
But
they do it
tango
all.
is their, that's their trademark. That's where it got famous. And
Mm-hmm.
you could see the history of tango with some of the beautiful shows they have there and
Right.
actually take tango classes. So I would highly recommend doing that.
Bingo. So I'm sure y'all putting Argentina on your list after that. This is great, great information about it. So much appreciated. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a flight to catch. We've got to get back home to our home airports. And as we are flying back home, Melinda, you already know what time of day it is. It is the lightning round. So I'm going to ask you a list of questions. And you are to answer them as quickly as possible. So quick, quick,
Okay.
quick. Speed is our friend. And to even make it even more interesting, you can only use one word answers. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
Okay.
ready. I'm ready. Estoy listo. Estás listas.
See,
Estás lista. Estás lista. So, all right. So for those folks who don't know, estoy listo is I'm ready. Estás listas, or you ready. Just throwing that out there. But
muy
anyways,
bien.
yeah, we get it in. Rosetta Stone. So, question number one. What is your favorite airline?
British Airway,
What is your favorite hotel?
the Ritz.
What is your favorite cruise line?
Hmm. Princess. Princess Cruise Line.
What is your favorite state?
State. California.
What is your favorite country?
It's a tie, but I have to say France.
Uh, what is your favorite hotel booking site?
It used to be booking.com, but now it's the Global Travel Club
Dope. And your favorite flight booking site?
where flights the same.
Hmm.
The Global
And then
Travel
what
Club.
is one thing that Melinda must bring on all of her trips?
A hat.
Nice. And then where do you want to go next?
Back to Italy, but Portugal. Never been.
Mm. What other state would you live in?
You know, probably Idaho, Boise,
Nice. What other country would you live in?
Italy.
And last question. What is your favorite travel podcast?
The Global Travel Podcast.
Good answer. Good answer. Much appreciated, Melinda. Thank you so much for stopping by, showing some love for us. We greatly appreciate your time.
Ciao, Darren. Have a great
Ciao.
day. It's been
Of
great
course.
talking to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then real quick, ladies and gentlemen, before you already know what time of day it is. The plane is now approaching our home airport. So we are now descending. I need you back into your seats, buckle up, trays up, and your seats in the upright position. But before we land, Melinda, if you can, may you give us one last piece of travel advice, please?
Um, have an open mind, respect the country you're in by learning the language, and learn as much about it as you can before.
Mm. Well said. Pay attention, take notes. Hopefully, y'all got your pens and your pads. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now safely landed. You can unbuckle your seatbelts, grab your belongings, and exit the cabin. So, with that being said, thank you for flying here with us at the Global Travel Podcast, and we'll see you guys on our next trip.
Ciao.
Ciao. If you would like to be a guest on our show and tell us about your travel experiences, then leave us a comment in the comment section below so we can reach out to you. Also, if you have any countries, states, or cities that you'd like us to review, please let us know so we can plan a trip there. Lastly, if you got some good value today and liked our podcast, please hit the like button and click subscribe so you can travel with us again next time. So subscribe right now because you don't want to miss the next trip. With that being said, over and out.